You know that feeling, right? You've been searching for a home online, you finally find one you love, you click that big Contact Agent button, and boom, your phone starts blowing up with calls and texts from a bunch of people you've never even heard of. It's confusing, it's super frustrating, and honestly, it just feels broken. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and explain exactly why your online home search is such a mess, and more importantly, how we can fix it.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to walk through that confusing experience we all know a little too well. Then, we'll get into the system behind it all, it's called IDX, and see how a really good idea kind of went off the rails. After that, we'll lay out a simple 5-step fix, follow the money to see who's benefiting from the confusion, and finally, talk about how we get to a much clearer, better home search for everybody.
All right, let's just dive right into that frustration. You're just trying to find some basic info about a house you like, but instead, you get dropped into this weird maze of misdirection.
I mean, really think about it. You see a listing, you're excited, and you hit that big, friendly button to schedule a tour. You'd assume, naturally, that you're getting in touch with the person who knows the most about that specific home. You know, the listing agent. But is that what's really happening? Not usually. And that disconnect right there is the absolute heart of the problem.
So, the system that makes all of this possible is called IDX, which stands for Internet Data Exchange. And what's wild is that it was actually created with the best of intentions. But as you're about to see, what it is today, well, it's become a bit of a broken promise.
At its core, IDX was all about cooperation. It's basically a handshake deal that lets agents and brokers show each other's listings on their websites. The goal was super simple and genuinely helpful, to create this one massive shared swimming pool of homes so that you, the buyer, could easily see everything out there on the market.
And this slide, this really says it all. Look at that gap between the goal and the reality. A system that was designed to help you is now being used to hijack your clicks, intentionally hide the one person with all the answers, the listing agent, and at the end of the day, turn your confusion into a product that gets sold to the highest bidder.
So how in the world do they get away with this? Well, the rules just say the listing agent's info has to be somewhere on the page. And that loophole has turned these big platforms into masters of being technically compliant but practically invisible. They use every design trick in the book, right? They make the buyer's agent info huge and bold, while the listing agent's is in tiny gray font. Or they bury it so far down the page you'd need a shovel to find it. They're following the letter of the law, but they're completely ignoring the spirit of it.
And that brings us to this incredibly blunt quote from industry expert James Rowlett that just sums everything up perfectly. They think they're the consumer, and they don't get that they're the product. Just let that sink in for a second. When you type your name and number into one of those forms, you're not the customer. You are the product that's being sold to another agent who paid for the lead.
Okay, so the system is a mess. We get it. But the good news is, it's not a lost cause. Not at all. There is a clear path forward. Which brings us to a really straightforward plan for how to fix this.
And this is the most important part. These fixes aren't some kind of crazy technological challenge. They're basic. They're just common sense. All it takes is the will to actually prioritize consumer clarity over the messy, confusing incentives we have right now.
So here it is, the 5-step plan from Rowlett. First, visibility. Just make it easy to see who represents the seller. Second, attribution. Make it obvious, not buried. Third, honest buttons. The buttons on the page should do what they say they're going to do. Fourth, transparency. Be crystal clear about the financial kickbacks. And finally, step 5, competition. Build a better, consumer-first search tool directly from the MLS, the original source of all this data.
And this slide just brilliantly shows what step 3 looks like in action. Instead of that one single deceptive button that sends you off to some random agent who paid for your info, imagine having 2 clear choices. One button to contact the listing agent directly, the expert on the home, and another to connect with a buyer's agent if that's what you want. The power is put right back into your hands because you actually understand what happens before you click. It's choice. Now, to really understand why this whole confusing system is still around, we have to look past the website design and do what you always have to do. Follow the money.
It all boils down to transparency. Look, if you're being sent to an agent just because they paid to feed a website, that should be disclosed plain and simple. If that platform is taking a huge chunk of the agent's commission as a referral fee, you should know that, not have it buried in the terms of service. The industry already has rules for disclosing other kinds of business relationships. The same exact logic needs to apply here to protect you from these hidden incentives.
So let's wrap this all up. What is the actual path to clarity? And why does fixing this mess really matter to you, whether you're looking to buy or sell a home?
You know, a lot of people try to frame this debate as being about how agents get paid. It's not. That's missing the forest for the trees. At its absolute core, this is a consumer clarity issue. Because when you, the consumer, are confused, you get a worse experience. Period. And when the system is clear and transparent for you, fairness for agents just naturally follows. It puts the focus right back where it should have been all along, on you.
This quote from Rowlett just perfectly captures how absurd the whole situation is. The technology to build a clean, modern, totally transparent search website exists right now. That's the Zippo lighter. But the industry is stuck using these old, clunky, confusing methods. Rubbing sticks together, all because of internal politics and financial incentives.
And that leaves us with the final and most critical question. We've seen that the problem is obvious, and the solutions are surprisingly simple. Make things visible, make buttons honest, and make incentives transparent. So if the path to a better experience for everyone is really this straightforward, what's actually stopping it from happening?